Welcome back to Portugal. Round 4 of the FI Motocross World Championship, the MXGP of Portugal here at Agata. My name's Paul Malin. Jason Thomas alongside me from Fly Racing. He'll be with us during the broadcast. But what a day we've had here so far in Agata on the west coast of the country. This clay-based racetrack, bathed in glorious sunshine all weekend long. 1,600 meters or thereabouts, the length of the racetrack, which is now rugged. It's very choppy. There are some ruts, and just like we had in the qualifying race yesterday, there are going to be some shadows later on in the race because it's just after 5 o'clock local time here in the afternoon. We're still just a week on from the clocks going forward for what is the summertime season. So those shadows are going to be getting longer because of the time of year that we're in. But Tim Geiser was your overall winner here in MXGP in 2019. Jorge Prado was victorious in the MX2 category. He was also a winner here in 2018. Both riders on the podium here in the past as winners. But Tim Geiser just the one time as the winner. Jorge Prado a double winner. Can he make it 3 and join the likes of Clement de Sal as a 3-time winner, Jeffrey Hurlings, Tony Cairoli, Stefan Everts, and add to the illustrious history of this Portuguese Grand Prix. Riders just on their way back from the sighting lap. Before we go anywhere though, we'll take a look at what happened in race 1. Here's the highlights from that first MXGP race. MXGP race 1, all eyes over on the far side, but it was Henry Jacobi about 7 or 8 gates over who grabbed just by about a half a nobble his 3rd foxhole shot of the season. But it was Prado who led going into turn 2, closely followed by Coldenhoff, Brian Bogus, Jeremy Seawer. Jacobi losing another couple of positions at the bottom of the hill as he was shuffled back to about 6th or 7th place. Bogus not hanging around, moved into 2nd with that pass on Coldenhoff. That was about lap 4. Beaton not so lucky on that part of the racetrack as Van Hoorbeek barged his way into 10th and left the Aussie on the deck. Geiser didn't make the best start, but he was scything his way through. Eventually he caught Jeremy Seawer, made that move for 4th position, and he really started to up the tempo in the second half of the race. He then found his way past Glenn Coldenhoff to move into 3rd with about 6 laps to go. By then the gap was about 6 seconds between him and the leaders. Maxime Renault upside down. Talk about that in a moment, but he went down from 7th place. He eventually came home in 11th. Then a little bit further down the order, final lap, Ruben Fernandez found his way past Paul Jonas to move into 6th, but it was Prado, Bogus, Geiser all separated by not a lot as they crossed the line 1st, 2nd and 3rd. Coldenhoff was 4th and Seawer was 5th. But a short while ago, Lisa was down on the grid. She caught up with Tim Geiser, who was 3rd in race 1, and Brian Bogus, who was 2nd.
We're almost ready for the final race of the day, but I really want to speak to standing construct Husqvarna MXGP rider Brian Bogus. Brian, despite an unlucky round in Argentina, you were on fire in that first race. You really wouldn't let Prado get away. A great showing from you.
Yes, thank you. I mean, I feel really good on the track. Also yesterday already with the qualifying race, I had a really good speed, even the fastest lap time, I think in the first model also. So yeah, this feels very good, you know.
Quite a tricky racetrack now. It's hard, it's slick, those bumps aren't forgiving at all. How's it shaping up for the final race of the day?
Yeah, it's tricky, sketchy, some parts, a lot of ruts, but the top is a little bit sandy. Also why we use the sand tire. But yeah, I feel good. I feel good on the track, also with the sketcy parts, you know. So yeah, I'm looking forward to the second moto.
Have a great second race. Thanks, Brian. I'd like to grab a quick word with Tim Geiser from Team HRC just about that first race. Quite a patient first race for you, wasn't it? You managed to get up to 3rd. How was it from your seat?
Yeah, it was not the best start. I was around 6th, and then it was not really easy to pass, let's say first half of the race. Then the track starts to develop some nice lines. Then I make 3 passes, and I was behind the leaders, and I closed the gap, but I missed a little bit of time on the end. But anyway, speed was there. Hopefully I can take a better start now in the second moto and ride like I know.
Are you feeling all okay after your crash in qualifying?
Yeah, everything is good.
Okay, good to know. Okay, thanks, Tim. Best of luck for this race. It's time for MXGP Race 2.
Freeze, Lisa. Don't move. Of course, those interviews pre-recorded. Here's calendar, by the way. Round 4 we're at, 3rd of April. Portugal. We go to Trentino next week before we have a week off. Latvia, week off, and then Maggiora in Italy. And then, obviously, we end with the Monster Energy Red Bull Motocross, Monster Energy FIM Motocross Nations at Redbud on the 25th of September. And it will be great to be back over there. The last time we were there was 2018 when it was red mud. Hopefully it won't be red mud this year. And we'll get on and enjoy the best that facility has to offer. Let's touch on that again, Jason. Fantastic venue. We're all looking forward to it already.
Yeah, everybody in the U.S. is as well. The anticipation is already building, and we haven't even started our motocross season in the U.S. yet. So I'm looking forward to it personally. I think most of the motocross world is as well.
Glenn Coldenoff will go to the line on pole, just as he did in race 1, because he was victorious in the qualifying race yesterday. Everybody else on screen there. We had a fantastic first race. Jorge Prado, the winner, his 3rd win of the season, 63rd career race win over Brian Bogers and Tim Geiser. Not a lot in it between those two. Brian Bogers was your surprise rider of the race.
Yeah, and I think for most people it would be as well. We have kind of the set protagonists in the series, and the championship contenders are emerging, and I didn't have Brian Bogers in that list. So, you know, he needs to back that up with a race 2 and maybe find himself on the podium at the end.
Even after the qualifying race, where he was 3rd.
I still didn't think that would necessarily transfer into Sunday. We've seen results not always be the same Saturday to Sunday, but yeah, he's proving me wrong and having a really strong weekend.
Having a strong weekend. Glenn Coldenoff there, Monster Energy Yamaha. He won the qualifying race yesterday, came away with a 4th in the race today. There is Brian Bogers, the standing construct Husqvarna rider. Got 2nd in that first race. That was the first time it was best finish since he was 2nd in the 2nd race in Mantova back in 2019, round 5. So it's been a while. That was a mud race back then. Here he did it in the dry on a technically challenging racetrack.
Well, yeah, and it's, you know, to see him latch on to Jorge Prado and really not let go, and also to be able to hold off Tim Geiser, that's really not form that we've expected from him. You go back to, like you said, 2019 since we've really seen a ride like that. So I'm hoping for him. I like to cheer for the underdog, and I think he represents that.
Jeremy Seawer in his 150th consecutive Grand Prix start without interruption, 155 in total because he did 5 wildcard rides before he went full-time in 2014. And he'll be hoping to get on the podium if he can. He's a former winner here as well in MX2 2017. Tim Geiser left himself with a lot of work to do in that first race. 6th or 7th through the first few corners. He didn't actually make any passes until lap 7 when he moved past Jonas into 5th place.
Yeah, he said he you know, wasted a little bit too much time in the middle, which we had been talking about during the race, is when would the move come. Came a little bit too late. I think he'll learn from that and try to apply it in this race if he doesn't get the start again.
Well, the start is going to be the important factor. Henry Jacobi was across the Foxhole shot line first for the 3rd time, tying Jorge Prado, actually. Not often we get Jorge Prado getting competition in that little competition within the competition, if you like.
Yeah, absolutely. We just see Maxime Renault there. He needs a bounce-back ride. He comes into this race 2nd in the championship, has a tip over, gives a bunch of points back to Jorge Prado, so he needs to recover so he carries that confidence into Trentino.
Yeah, I spoke to Maxime actually in the break, and he just said he just hasn't got a good feeling with the track today, not in qualifying yesterday either, and he had that crash in qualifying towards the end of the session as well, and also today he wasn't feeling it, but at the same time he said the crash was because he knew if he doubled up over the braking bump going into that corner, he was going to T-bone Paul Jonas, so he pulled out of that challenge as the Fly Racing 15-second board goes up, and as a result of trying to prevent the crash, he went down anyway, so, you know, damned if you do, damned if you don't. Maxime Renault will be hoping for a better start and hope it will give him that extra few percent to go with the top guys. 5-second board about to be risen here. Heads down, revs up, MXGP, race 2. Prado, this time decisive. Jacobi ran the outside again, so it looked like it might have been Prado, but an almost carbon copy of what we had in race 1. But Geiser this time in 2nd place as they drop downhill. Then we have Coldenoff and Jonas, I think, there. So Jonas moving up into 3rd position at the top of the hill. And it is Coldenoff in 4th, beaten in 5th. Bogers down the inside in 6th. He's got Seawer going around the outside of him. In the middle as they work their way towards us here.
Well, Geiser did what is important. He didn't have the best gate pick there and was able to get back to the inside and start 2nd. Now he can kind of let the race come to him. He doesn't have to force anything. He can kind of see what Prado's pace is early, and yeah, everything's in front.
Because of the water that went down in the break before MX2 race 2, the circuit now more akin to the qualifying conditions that we had yesterday. It's going to be drying out, it's going to be loose, slick, stones are working their way to the surface. It's going to be a tricky racetrack for the riders here in race 2.
It will be, but you know, it's not that slippery surface that the MX2 guys have to work in, right? The pace won't change a whole lot. What they're seeing now is pretty close to what they'll get the entire race.
Seawer on the charge, bottom of the hill, just behind his teammate Koldenhoff, who's going to go defensive, 4th place. Seawer in 5th place. Somehow he got it stopped to land inside.
Yeah, and that double up the hill is a really tricky spot. You saw Prado go to the outside, and you saw Geiser go inside and almost crash doing it. So it'll be interesting to see if you see those guys adjust and go to that outside line.
What a great start for Jed Beaton as well. The Australian unlucky to get crashed out of 9th place, 10th place by Jeremy Van Hoorbeek in race 1. He ended up in 18th, but a good start for him here. He is in 6th place for F&H Kawasaki. He was on the podium here a few years ago in MX2 as well, which was the first podium for the team, actually, incidentally. But Prado leads by less than a second over Tim Geiser. Jonas is in 3rd, 4th Koldenhoff, his teammate behind him, Jeremy Seawer, then Beaton, Bogas, Fernandez, Van Donnick and Verlanderen. Jacoby, who was 2nd going up into the first turn, already down in 11th place. So that first lap intensity letting the German down.
Well, and you mentioned first lap intensity. That's what Prado has been known for throughout his career, and Geiser knows that, right? So it's not necessarily that Geiser needs to make a pass. He just needs to make sure that Prado doesn't get away. And then as the race calms down a little bit, that's when Geiser can kind of take over.
And actually in race 1, Tim Geiser just left it too late. 6-7 laps before he even made a pass past Jonas. And then he was another 5 or 6 laps before he could find his way past Jeremy Seawer into 4th position. And by then, when he got into that 3rd place, Prado and Bogas, they'd done all the hard work. They had to make him chase.
Well, and there's a fine line between being patient and being too patient. And in this situation, he can afford to be patient and wait it out. In the first race, he really needed to make quicker moves. When he was sitting back in 5th, 6th, 7th place, Bogas and Prado were putting in their best laps of the race and building a gap that then Geiser had to try to bring down at the very end.
Standing construct Husqvarna, Paul Jonas just out of sight there in 3rd place, but the 2 Monster Energy Yamahas, Koldenhoff and Seawer right there. But top of the hill in green, haven't seen too much of him. Jed Beaton in that 6th place. Brian Bogas just behind him. There is the number 14 of Beaton. What can he do? Can he turn this around as Seawer's back end lights up on him coming out of that turn? Very lucky to stay up there. And somehow it didn't cost him too much time either.
Yeah, I got to speak to Seawer for a little bit yesterday and this morning, and yeah, he's still feeling the effects of Argentina, and to put in that first moto ride and to be back up here in the second ride is really impressive, because I'll be honest, I thought maybe he wouldn't make his 150th start.
And I spoke to Chipper as well, his race mechanic, and I just said, is he okay? You know, was he feeling okay? Because obviously 4th. He said, yeah, Jeremy Seawer, and he said, coming home in 5th place, he said he was okay, but just trying to stay focused, and at the same time he just kind of pointed to the arms and just went a little bit, so maybe arm pump was just creeping in with the pace, with the conditions of the track. But sometimes, I don't know if you felt it, but once you had arm pump in either time practice or qualifying race or race 1, you don't kind of get it as bad, or if at all, for race 2.
Yeah, sometimes you can work it out, but then sometimes once you get it, it doesn't ever really go away. It can go both ways there. But I was just happy to see him able and to ride, because when I spoke with him, I had zero confidence leaving that conversation that it was going to be a good weekend for him. So I think the number 1 key there is adrenaline. Adrenaline seems to cure all, and yeah, he looks back on form.
Put the flag out right now. Prado will win the Grand Prix with 2 race wins. Geiser would be 2nd with a 3rd and a 2nd. Koldenhoff would be 3rd with 2 4th place finishes, 36 points. But he's tied on points with Brian Bogas, who is 2nd and 7th if things stay as they are at the moment. So Paul Jonas 5th on 34, so only 2 points separating 3rd, 4th and 5th in this overall Grand Prix as it stands right now.
Well, 2 different dynamics shaping up here. One, Prado wants to make sure that he leaves here with the Grand Prix win. That's really important. You know, get those overall points back from Tim Geiser. But also the mental side of this challenge. Prado wants to prove to Geiser that he can beat him, right? And you have a championship fight on your hands, because really to this point, no one has been able to challenge him consistently. It's really felt like it's been Geiser's championship. If Prado can come in here, go 1-1, that's going to leave Geiser with something to think about all week as we enter Italy.
Did you see Tim Geiser a moment ago jumping up into that corner, just a little bit offline, got caught to the outside, wasn't able to push through there. It looked like it cost him a bit of time, probably half a second maybe. The gap now 1.7 between him and Prado, the race leader. Look, just bounced and then up on the pegs, had to lock up. Tipped it back down in the corner. A good save, but a rare mistake.
Yeah, and you see him moving to the outside line, though. Like, they had been doubling to the inside, and I think that's just being unfamiliar with that outside line. I think if he continues going out there, he'll figure the line out and start to bring that time down.
Paul Jonas, standing construct, Husqvarna Factory Racing. 3rd position for the Latvian. 7th in race 1, currently 3rd in race 2. He's just a couple of points or so off the podium. In fact, Brian Bogas has got himself onto the podium. He's now moved up into well, he's in 6th place, but he's going to be on the podium. Look, Prado 50, Geiser 42, Bogus 37, and then Koldenhoff on 36.
Yeah, Bogers was able to make the move around Beaton there, and the only rider really to challenge for the podium is just in front of him there with Koldenhoff. So Koldenhoff would either have to move forward or have something happen to Bogers to move into that podium position.
Well, Koldenhoff there about a second or so behind Paul Jonas in that 4th place. So as you say, Koldenhoff needs to find another gear somehow to find his way past the Latvian if he can.
PJ doesn't have a lot of bike time yet. You know, he's still coming back from injury, so...
This is more impressive, though.
It is. We'll have to watch closely to see if he can hold on in the last few laps, especially if he has pressure from Bogers or Koldenhoff the last few laps.
Jed Beaton on the Kawasaki. He's got close company in the form of Ruben Fernandez and Calvin Verlandren there, number 10 on the Gavin van Venrooy Yamaha. Calvin Verlandren coming home a very strong 8th because he closed up on Siwa, Fernandez and Jonas in that first race, and he's already in the mix here in the early stages of race 2. So the South African riding for that Gavin van Venrooy team will believe he can find his way past surely a battered and bruised Ruben Fernandez after his 2 crashes yesterday, the second one in particular in the qualifying race.
The Dutch/South African?
Yeah, the Dutch African.
Well, and you know, for Vlaanderen, it's kind of the story of what could have been. You know, if you imagine putting him into a top 5 start in both races, this day could look drastically different. So he still has time to do something about this one, but the pace has been really, really good.
Prado, Geiser, Jonas, Koldenhoff, Siwa, Bogers, Beaton. Then we've got Fernandez 8, Verlandren 9. That's these 2 here. Quick pull of the tail off there for the Spaniard, Fernandez, who only lives a couple hours north of here, just over the border in northwestern Spain. Or if you speak to Lisa, of course, he's Portuguese, because it's only a 2-hour drive away from here.
And Fernandez has had a rough and tumble weekend. You know, the riding has been pretty decent as we see Verlanderen trying to make a move around the outside.
Nice move that from Verlanderen all the way around the outside. Fernandez, nothing to offer him. And all of a sudden, Verlanderen up into 8th place.
Well, and you wonder if those crashes are starting to take a toll on Fernandez. He's been on the ground more often than not on the weekend, so... He just doesn't look like he has a lot of fight in him. He doesn't look like he has that typical intensity that he's known for.
Here's your race leader, closely followed by Tim Geiser. Those 2 were 1.7 seconds apart at the end of lap 4, where Geiser put in the fastest lap by about 2 or 3 hundredths of a second or thousandths of a second.
And these guys are putting in, you know, the fastest laps of the race. But I think the Geiser's content to sit here at the moment. There's no pressure from behind. They don't think they expect Paul Jonas to catch up, so I don't think he has to force it here. He can kind of wait Prado out.
But also, race 1, he left it very, very late. Second half of the race, he made up a 6-second deficit in the last few laps alone, with 1.5, 2-second lap times faster than Prado and Bogers. So he knows he can sit there, and in the next 5-6 minutes or something like that, we may see him flick the switch and go after Prado and then just ease his way into the lead. But I think Jorge Prado would love to win the overall Grand Prix, of course he would. And he also knows that if Geiser does find a way through, and we said it in race 1, a first and a second compared to a third and a first will win the Grand Prix. So Jorge Prado also knows that if he can go 1-1 and pull back another 3 points, fine, great. But he also knows that if Geiser goes through, it's another Grand Prix victory for him and the first of the campaign. And that means it'll be on the podium, just like Geiser, every round, second, third, and what will be a Grand Prix victory.
Well, and I think the dynamic has changed. You know, if you go back to the 2021 season, Geiser would not be able to be patient here. He would be dealing with the likes of Hurlings and Febvre and maybe Cairoli in this situation too. Now he knows that he and Prado are really, it's between those 2 to settle this race win, so he can wait. He can look at Prado's lines, and as you said, he was able to bring down a 7-second gap in 3 or 4 laps, so he has that in the back of his mind that he has that sprint speed.
Right, Evans and Jacobi, top of the hill. Oh, Evans just bounces into Jacobi, forces the German over the berm, manages to make a pass.
Well, that's that inside double that everybody's had issues with all day.
Moves up to 17th with that move.
I don't think that was intentional by any means. Jacobi probably doesn't care if I think it was intentional or not, but yeah.
I think he just bounced, didn't he? Just landed long and nowhere to go apart from through the German. Right, we did have a 1.1 second gap between these 2 as they hit the line at the end of lap 5. This is lap 6. Nothing in it between them now, so the Red Bull gas of Jorge Prado under pressure from the HRC machine of Tim Geiser, 0.729 of a second separate them, but we don't need us to tell you that, because look, they're separated by next to nothing. You could throw a blanket over them from here, probably a moon blanket, silver foil wrapped.
And Geiser just hanging around. You know, it's really subtle. You watch his body language to see if he's really pushing in certain sections or not. You see how patient he is in some of these corners. That tells me that he has speed to burn, and when he really decides to turn it on, I think he can probably gap Prado. You see how patient he is in the corners. To me, that's the sign of an ultra-confident racer, knowing that when it's time to go, he can go.
And again, just like we've seen every round so far this year, that setup between rider and machine looks very solid, very sturdy. Bike, rider, suspension, everything power. When you stand trackside and listen to that bike, it's so deep and grunty compared to any other 450 Honda. And, you know, that thing is a very, very quick motorcycle.
Well, and he's turning 151s, low 151s, and he doesn't look like he's trying all that hard. So I think if he really wants to uncork a few 150s, I think he has it waiting.
He's definitely ironed out and become a smoother rider this year, hasn't he? And that comes from confidence, and then that also brings control.
Yeah, and I think it's also just the state of the championship. You know, I think he's the most accomplished. You know, he went down to the wire to win a world championship last year, and I think he's very confident against the riders he has to contend with.
Oh, look at
that move there.
Absolutely from nowhere. And you know what? That came from a mistake at the top of the hill from Jorge Prado that left the door wide open for Geiser to go through. So all of a sudden, lap 7 from just nothing. He's just flicked the switch and gone. He sensed the opportunity, took it with both hands.
Now
watch this here, top of the hill, back end came around, wasn't so bad, but maybe it was just enough to see Geiser say, you know what, and maybe a slight mistake at the bottom of the hill here, but he committed to the inside. Watch this, got on the gas. Wow, Prado, nowhere to go. Geiser, your new leader.
And I'm really curious to see what Geiser turns in for a lap time here. He's got a clear track. He knows the time is now. If he really wants to make this race easy on himself, he puts in a few 150s. Maybe we see even go to 149. He can make this a really boring second half of the race, too.
Yeah, and already pulling clear of Prado. A very fast sector 4 as well, but in the 24s. But Jorge Prado, as we've said, already knows that he can sit here in that second place. He would have already done the maths and said, you know what, if Tim is going to beat me in this second race and I finish second, 1-2 beats a 3-1.
Well, and it's not so much different than situations we've seen earlier today. You just take what's in front of you. Sometimes the race win's not in the cards. But I just am so impressed with the way Geiser just approached that whole situation. There was no urgency. There was no impatience. He kind of understood that he had the speed when he needed it. And honestly, I don't think he expected to make the pass there. The door just kind of opened. And it was whether or not he was going to have to force the issue or just be patient.
Top 5 looks like that. We'll see the first 3, Prado, Geiser, Bogas on the podium. 1 point behind them, adrift. And there's Glenn Coldenhoff. He is just in 4th position overall at the moment in this classification. He is, what, 2 seconds, second and a half behind Paul Jonas. There's Jonas through the bottom left-hand turn, top of the hill now. Is there going to be something interesting between these two in the next 15.5 minutes plus 2 laps? Just behind them, you've got Sewa and Bogas. Bogas on the podium at the moment. Doesn't need to find his way past Jeremy Sewa, but you know what? Every point counts, and if it's to guarantee a podium, then of course he's going to want to go past Sewa, who still, as you said, trying to work his way back into some kind of fitness after his crash in Argentina.
Well, and I would expect Coldenhoff's, pit lane crew to be relaying that information that, to get the podium, need to get around Paul Jonas. Whether they have or not yet, I'm not sure, but that will be coming if not.
So Coldenhoff comes into land. Paul Jonas heads out of turn 1 and up the hill. Been a good, solid return to action for the Latvian on that standing construct Husqvarna. And a good, solid weekend as well for Glenn Coldenhoff. 5th overall, the opening round at Matterley Basin, 17th in Lombardia, where he was just having an awful weekend, 5th in Argentina. So this would be for 4th overall, his best result of the season so far. But it's the way in which he's done it, a qualifying race win, just to give him that little bit of confidence. It's given him the confidence to get out the start as well. So a 4th in race 1, currently 4th in race 2. His best season of the season, best race and Grand Prix of the season so far.
Well, and meanwhile out front, I was wondering how Geiser would respond to getting the lead there in a clear track, and he puts in a 150, which is kind of what we were looking for. And Prado, to his credit, sticks with a 152, but again, they had been pushing 151s when they were, maybe 5 laps ago.
Jeremy Sewa in 5th place, under attack from Brian Bogas then. So the Monster Energy Yamaha, and it looked like he would just lost him there, but the Little short butt there. Jeremy Seward disappearing behind the advertising banners there. Looks like the front went, the back went, just disappeared for a moment, but all of a sudden he came back into view. Brian Boger's just latching onto the rear wheel of the number 91, though. That would almost cement that podium for him. He's only got a point difference over Glenn Koldenoff, so finds his way past Seward, gives him another couple of points in the race. Oh, it was a strange landing there. Back end just drifting left and then right, just as he came in to land, Jeremy Seward. Just goes to show how tricky the racetrack is, isn't it?
Well, there's a lot of math going on in pit lane right now because the standing construct Husky team will understand that if Koldenoff goes up and makes a move on Paul Jonas, then that changes the dynamic for Bogers, and he then has to pass Seward. So one move can change everything, and these podiums are really hard to come by.
As we look at Paul Jonas, you see how the rocks are starting to surface going through that first turn and up the hill now as well. Start of the race, never had that problem because it was just freshly ripped, but as the ground dries out, all that heavy stone coming to the surface, riders getting battered and roosted off the back of the 450 wheels ahead of them.
Yeah, and that front end starts to push quite a bit, right? You get into those loose pebbles and stones, and you don't have that solid front end traction anymore.
Just looking further down the order, actually, Maxime Renault parked in 10th place at the moment, 25 seconds off the lead. He's turning in 1:52 lap times. Not too bad in that respect. Only one rider quicker than him that time around. That was Geiser. But the rider who arrived here second in the championship, 17 behind Geiser, 6 ahead of Jorge Prado. He'll still leave here third in the championship, but he's going to fall 20 points behind the Spaniard Prado, who is on course for winning the Grand Prix. Still, it's his rookie season, but he set the benchmark very high with a qualifying race win at the opening round and podiums in the last 2 rounds, both of them second overall, of course, Maxime Renault.
Yeah, you see Koldenoff, his teammates, start to close in on Jonas here. He puts in a really nice Sector 2 and Sector 3 and comes to the back. So you wonder if he got that signal or if Jonas is just starting to feel, you know, the lack of riding time that he's had.
I feel like I'm watching a Formula 1 race here. 2-4 right. Watch this here. Just came up short there and then looked worse from the other angle there, Koldenoff, but keeps it up on 2 wheels. I feel like I'm watching a Formula 1 race because we've got Jonas standing construct, Koldenoff, Monster Energy, Yamaha, Monster Energy, Yamaha, Seward, and then standing construct, Husqvarna, Brian Bogers. 2 teammates, you know, 4 riders, 2 teams. 3rd, 4th, 5th, and 6th. Oh, Tim Geiser has just found the afterburners. Another half a second gained in Sector 1, the fastest Sector 1 of the race so far. He's already 3.8 seconds clear. He's moving into the 4-second territory, and that's pretty much game over in that respect.
This is really what you expected to see. This is what I wanted to see from him. Be patient, be patient, be patient, and then when it's time to go, then you go. And then you end the race within 3 laps and kind of break Prado's spirit.
Talking about go, Koldenoff, 151.9, taking about a second out of Paul Jonas, so 3rd position is under threat for Paul Jonas as Koldenoff maybe just inches closer. That was a big chunk of time in that lap.
Koldenoff's on the edge here. See him making mistakes, but that's just simply from putting in more effort. He's trying to make the pass now.
Yeah, Jonas making Koldenoff work very, very hard. We've got just over 10 minutes plus 2 laps to go. Those lap times around 151, 152, so just shy of another 4 minutes to add on to that. Race 1 was 19 laps. We are on lap 5. Where are we at the moment? Lap 10 at the moment. Lap 11. Good response, though, this from Jonas. He knows the threat is there, so he's just having a pit just a little bit. But how much of this race intensity, 2 motos, you know, at this kind of sort of peak, at this kind of pace, how much is that going to take out of the Latvian? We know he has the ability, but you can't beat race fitness and time on the bike in a race scenario.
Yeah, and that was a really nice response lap, like you said. Goes back into the 152s. Koldenoff wasn't able to maintain that 151. So you kind of get that ebb and flow where Koldenoff really felt like there was an opportunity. Was that Renault there?
Fernandez, I think, just got parked there because, was that a back marker? No, it wasn't, was it? I think Fernandez just cleared his way past Ferrato. So he just left the door wide open. We'll see it here again, but no second invites there for Ruben Fernandez. Jed Beaton, watch this here. So Ferrato and Renault. Look. Oh, yeah, that was right. So Ferrato sides his way down the inside of Renault, moves into that 10th place then. Renault now in 11th.
Renault probably wondering if Corrado knows that he's second in the championship coming into the weekend.
Fernandez has just found his way past Beaton as well, so Fernandez now up into 8th position. Jed Beaton didn't see it coming, so the Terminator in full force once again.
Yeah, Beaton just trying to hang on to this thing after a great start and a great first few laps.
Oh, Ferrato up the inside of Beaton as well, so losing 2 positions in about 4 corners, Jed Beaton. And not getting over the triple there either, so not sure what the issue is with the F&H Kawasaki rider, but Maxime Renault also knocking on the door of the Australian, who now looks like he's pretty much thrown in the white towel.
Well, and this is the tough part for Beaton, right? You're having a tough few laps, you're getting past, and then you look back and you see the reigning MX2 world champion is next. You know, you were hoping it's some sort of privateer, somebody could hold off, and you have the likes of Renault. And
no time to regroup either. You just get caught, and then you get caught again. And guess what? 3 riders in quick succession, it looked like, at the top of the hill before we pulled away. And Koldenhoff has closed in on Paul Jonas now. So this is for 3rd position. Jonas knows he's there. Koldenhoff cuts back to the inside. Quick look from the Latvian. Koldenhoff short on the landing. Still having to think outside the box, though, the Dutchie. And Maxime Renault, just before pit lane, tips down at the bottom of the hill. He was in 11th place. Watch this here. Oh, back end comes around. Same as Adamo in the first race. Back end came around on it. Just been one of those days, and very lucky not to get his feet run over there as well. Didn't have a good feeling, he said, in race 1 and pretty much yesterday, so just struggling with the conditions here this weekend. He'll just go back, regroup. He won't be out of here quick enough, and he'll be looking forward to Trentino.
Yeah, some days you just have to, you know, go back to the drawing board, forget they ever happened. I think he's a much better rider than what the results are telling us and what we, you know, so far what we've seen this season. So you just go back to Trentino and pretend that there was no Portugal race.
Jonas still weathering the storm. It is Glenn Koldenhoff just behind him. Jeremy Seaward sets his fastest lap of the race in 5th. Number 91 behind these two, although he's about 3 seconds behind his teammate. Another good, solid performance, though, for Seaward. We'll leave here 6 overall, but 2 solid rides. Watch this here. Yeah, back end just a little bit loose there, but no stress for Koldenhoff. In control all day long.
He's pushing pretty hard here. He's got Seaward starting to close up from the rear, and also that podium is looming, right? They get signals from pit lane. You know, the mechanics are very aware of the situation, and you can see the urgency not only from Seaward and Bogers, but also from Koldenhoff too. So everyone's trying to push forward at the same time.
And it goes back to what we were saying. Brian Bogers is 3rd overall at the moment, but he could do with passing Jeremy Seaward just to cement that. Glenn Koldenhoff, if he finds his way past Jonas, he is also on the podium at the expense of Brian Bogers. So a big 6 minutes plus 2 laps here between the 2 standing Husqvarnas and the 2 Monster Energy Yamahas. Oh, catch a foot peg, Glenn. Lucky not to knack his way into that turn. Somehow managed to stay on 2 wheels.
Well, all of the things I was saying about Geiser, where he was being ultra patient earlier, this is the complete antithesis of that when we're watching Koldenhoff. There's urgency, there's mistakes, there's all the things, but it's just effort. He's trying. You can see he's trying to get up there and make a move. You know, he hasn't had the best start to the series, and he wants to get that podium.
But at the same time, good to see the intensity with 5 plus 2 to go from Koldenhoff, who struggled in Lombardia for this kind of reaction, this same kind of performance. And he goes down the inside. Jonas not able to leave the door wide open enough. But Koldenhoff now is just knocking on that door. And maybe the fitness just starting to come into play for Paul Jonas here. He's on the ropes here by Koldenhoff. He's doing his best to stay there, but sometimes, you know what, sometimes it's just better to yield and just bring it home rather than push it more than you're capable of, and that's where the mistakes happen.
Well, and 5 minutes doesn't sound like a long time, but when you're under pressure like this and somebody is just countering your every move, 5 minutes is an eternity.
Plus 2 laps. Into the waves. Look at the ruts from above through that wave section. You know they're already going to be deep. Koldenhoff around the outside. They're going to, I was going to say, I thought they were going to cross. Good drive coming out of the turn there from Koldenhoff. He's going to double up the inside. He makes the move on Jonas. All of a sudden we've got a change for 3rd place, and Koldenhoff will be on the podium as it stands right now. Decisive move from the Yamaha rider. What will the response be from the team in pit lane? What will be the response from Brian Bogers to try and get back that podium, that third overall. Well, all of a sudden, 4 minutes seems an eternity if you're Paul Jonas now. Just got caught there by Koldenoff. Look over your shoulder, you got Seewer and Bogus. Bogus just losing a little bit of ground there, though, it looked like. So Bogus then, nothing for Jeremy Seewer at the moment. He's just going to miss out by a point as it stands right now.
What would be interesting if Seewer gets around Jonas here, would the team tell Jonas the situation to let Bogers by? I don't expect that. It's, you know, not a championship situation, but it would still be such a huge day for Bogers to end up on the podium.
It would be a fantastic day for him to get on the podium. Just missed it in Lombardia, 4th overall. But yeah, Brian Bogers, fantastic ride in race 1. So this was a lap ago through this rhythm section here. Just watch. Into that corner. Jonas doesn't get good drive coming out, but look at the drive there from Koldenoff, especially through the midsection. Second double, third double, gets alongside and doubles through the outside. He has that momentum around here, spooks Jonas, but the pass was a couple of corners later. He was able to get close enough to make that move happen. That was the move for third place. Louis liked it.
Sure did. And you see Koldenoff already starting to gap here, so Jonas looks like he's going to have a really tough time holding these guys off just based off of how much time he's given up to Koldenoff already.
Oh, we've got a rider down in front of our commentary position. Jeremy Seewer has tipped over. So Jeremy Seewer.
And that is music to Brian Bogers' ears.
So all of a sudden, Bogers now to 5th. Verlander 6th, Seewer 7th.
Still going to have to get Jonas, though.
So Prado on 47, Geiser 45, Koldenoff 38, the same as Bogers. And guess what? Jonas and Bogers, 2 teammates, 4th and 5th at the moment. How much does the podium mean to the team? How much does it mean to the riders?
In this class, a world championship, I would assume it's a very big deal. I don't know that Jonas is going to be able to hold him off anyway, but if I'm the team, I think really hard about letting Jonas know.
So the 2 standing construct Husqvarnas then. Line astern, 4th and 5th, Jonas and Bogers. Bogers closing in on the number 41, his teammate. He makes this pass, gives him the points to get him on the 3rd step of the podium, his first podium in MXGP.
I think Bogers may make the move on his own. He looks really aggressive here.
Yeah, I don't imagine team orders here in this situation, not with 3 laps to go, 2.5 laps to go, whatever it is. Both riders just queuing up behind each other. I would have thought actually Bogers would have gone around the outside, having followed Koldenoff through there a lap or so ago when he made the move or got closer to Jonas. Oh, around the outside, deja vu as to yesterday. The other 2 riders then were on the opposite side of the track, Bogers and Jonas, but a great move from Bogers. He moves into 4th place and he will be in control of that 3rd overall on the podium. An easy pass in the end for Bogers.
Well, and this is what, you know, lack of preparation, and Jonas has been dealing with an injury, certainly not his fault, but you can just see the difference in how they're attacking the track in these late laps, and Bogers has energy left to burn.
So 16 laps complete. Geiser 8 seconds clear at the head of the field. Prado 2nd. Koldenoff is 3rd in the race. Bogers 4th. He's just found his way past his teammate Jonas. Here's how he did it. Dropped downhill. Jonas went defensive, as Bogers did yesterday when he tried to make the move on his teammate in the qualifying race. Gave him room in which to work, and it was an easy pass in the end for the 189 as he moves into 4th place.
You wonder if Jonas knew that was Bogers there, right? He's still pretty aggressive, pushing to the outside there. He could have made it worse, but I'm not sure if he even knew who that was.
And now he's got clear track. He's looking interested, going after Glenn Koldenoff. See how that one plays out, shall we? Tim Geiser, Team HRC, 2-lap board getting readied in a few corners time. It's been an immaculate display this time around for Tim Geiser. got himself the perfect start. And once he got past Jorge Prado, made light work of the Spaniard almost immediately. Having said that, Jorge Prado would have known that a second place behind Geiser would be good enough to win the overall Grand Prix, pick your battles and all of that, but you still don't want to give 3 points away to Tim Geiser.
Well, no, and I mentioned the mental side earlier too. You know, this just reinforces Tim Geiser thinking that he is the best guy and on his way to a world championship, where Jorge is trying to fight against that. He's trying to show that he's going to be there the whole time.
Red Bull Gas Factory Racing, Jorge Prado, 7.5 seconds behind Tim Geiser. That's just numbers, because second place is going to be good enough, paired with his win in race 1, for the Spaniard to be standing on the top step of the podium. He's a 2-time winner here in MX2, 2018, 2019. Geiser was victorious in MXGP in that 2019 season as well. So a real battle between two riders who know this place very well, know what it's like to win races and win the Grand Prix, but it's Jorge Prado who gets the better of Geiser in that respect.
Yeah, and regardless of race 2, you know, each side can take away the positives. Still, if you're Prado, you wanted to come in and get the overall Grand Prix victory and get the ball rolling back your direction. He accomplished that.
Nicely done there, but as we've seen, riders have doubled through that corner there rather than almost like a little tabletop and then drop into that hole. But this late on in the race, making sure that everything is neat and tidy. Doesn't want to take any unnecessary risks, and Prado, not that kind of rider.
No, he's very calculated. You don't often see mistakes from him. So just kind of milking this one and bringing it home.
So behind Jorge Prado, about 5 seconds further back, Glenn Koldenoff in third. Been dumped off the podium for third overall by the hard-charging Brian Bogers, who found his way into fourth with a pass on his teammate a moment ago. Jonas is in fifth, Valana in sixth, 3 seconds further back. So he could still find his way into the top 5 in this race, Calvin Valana. Jeremy Seaver is 7th, Ferrato 8th, Fernandez 9th, Van Horebeke in 10th place. And we've got Maxim Renault, Mitch Evans 12th, Jed Beaton, Tom Cock, Brent Van Donnick, Alvin Osland, Ben Watson in 17th, Ivo Monticelli, Benoit Paturel and Nick Lapucci. 1 lap to go. Jorge Prado over the line in second position, on course for the overall Grand Prix with a win and a second here in Portugal. It'll be his third consecutive Grand Prix victory around this Agata circuit. Looks over the shoulder, knows he's got time in his pocket. 4 seconds or thereabouts to Glenn Koldenoff, so just managing the second position now just to bring it home. Hey, back end comes around. If it would have gone down there and Koldenoff made his way through, it would have been Geiser winning the Grand Prix. Watch this. Take your eye off the ball. That is as easy as a mistake can happen.
I take back all of the calculated, all of the comments I made earlier. I don't know what that was. Just one of those things, I think, where he is maybe losing concentration, right? You're not really paying attention to what you're doing anymore. Now he's allowed, he's got company right behind him.
Yeah, and he did look across. He wanted to manage that 4-second gap. He's probably lost a full second there in that incident alone. And he's just put himself under pressure unnecessarily on the final lap. Easy mistake to make. Get on the gas, back end lights up. But it was a mistake that he could have well done without.
Well, and sometimes when you slow down a little bit, you hit bumps differently, you're accelerating in different spots, right? And something can catch you out, where if you just keep your head in it and you keep your pace up, you're still reacting.
And a similar situation to what happened in Argentina, he was able to get caught by Ruben Fernandez, who made that pass for third on the final lap, and he was disappointed with that as well, that he allowed that to happen. He's got to be careful not to make the same mistake twice. As Koldenoff closes in, Koldenoff needs this pass to be on the podium. Tim Geiser making his way towards the line, 100 meters or so from the finish line. The Slovenian Team HRC, Tim Geiser, rounds out the final turn, wins race number 2, and Tim Geiser will be on the podium, but second overall behind Jorge Prado, who goes 1-2 here today to win the Portuguese Grand Prix. His 36th Grand Prix victory for Jorge Prado.
Prado a little happy and angry there. A little celebratory fist bump, but I think he's also frustrated with his lack of concentration there on the last lap.
36 Grand Prix victories for Jorge Prado and Tim Geiser, but it's Prado who wins this one here today in Portugal. Geiser will be second overall with a third and a first. Brian Bogers will be on the podium with a second and a fourth. Fantastic ride for him. Glenn Koldenoff sets his fastest lap on the final lap of the race, a 51.9. As he realised he was closing in on Jorge Prado and a possible shot at the third step of the podium. But first podium in MXGP for Brian Bogers. For standing construct, Husqvarna, second and a fourth for him. Tim Geiser wins the race, but Jorge Prado wins the Grand Prix. All smiles down there. Standing construct HQ. I think Tim Matthijs already on the beers at home. Been chilling the cold one all afternoon, haven't you, Tim? Good job, well deserved, and bouncing back after a separated shoulder in Argentina in a qualifying race. Didn't even get to do those two races. Responds well with a visit to the podium.
Yeah, that would be, yeah, if this was Formula One, that would be the rider of the race. I think he would be getting the votes for that. Just incredible effort from him. Really unexpected, especially for me.
Brian Bogers, fourth overall, round 2 in Lombardia, gets himself on the podium here today. But here's Tim Geiser, our overall Grand Prix winner. Jorge Prado, our overall Grand Prix winner. Here he is with Lisa Leyland.
Jorge Prado, congratulations. Your first overall of the season. 2 different races. You had a lot of work to do in that second race. Couldn't quite match up to Tim's speed. Tell us about it.
Yeah, second one I got the whole shot and I whole team for a couple of minutes, but it was tough. You know, he was riding very well. At the end of the moto, I kind of lose a little bit the gap and I didn't ride so smooth. So I'm not super happy about the riding, but okay, I got overall, so super pumped. Long time since my first overall, so the last laps took way too long. I was riding too conservative, and I know Glenn almost catch me. So, but no, super happy. Got the first one out of the way, and now I can go more relaxed into the next races.
Great job, thanks, Jorge.
Jorge Prado, Red Bull Gas Factory Racing, on the top step of the podium for the 36th time in his career. He does it with a win and a second here in Portugal. Closes a couple of points on Tim Geiser in the fight for the championship. Just 2, in fact. So the gap now will be 15 as we head to Trentino in a week's time. Give you the official confirmation then. MXGP Race 2. Tim Geiser victorious in the race. Jorge Prado second. Glenn Koldenoff third. Brian Bogers and his teammate Paul Jonas rounding out the top 5. Valandren, Siwa and Ferrato your top 8. 9th for Ruben Fernandez and 10th for the Jerry Van Horbeke. Maxim Renault 11, Mitch Evans 12, Jed Beaton, Tom Cock and Brent Van Donnick rounding out the top 15. Then we had Alvin Oslam, Ben Watson, Ivo Monticelli, Benoit Paturel and Nick Lapucci. Overall, Jorge Prado on the top step here in Portugal for the 3rd time, 2018, 2019, and now in MXGP in 2022. Edging out Geiser by 2 points. Bogers on the podium, 3rd overall here for his first MXGP podium. Koldenoff just missing out. 4th overall ahead of Jonas. The championship looks like this. Geiser still leads, but that gap has been reduced by 2 points by Jorge Prado this weekend. Renault loses second in the championship to Jorge Prado after an off weekend for the Frenchman. Koldenoff up to 5th in the championship, though, with his performance here today. Honda managing the championship lead, though, in the Manufacturers' Championship. Yamaha second, no change, in fact, in those positions. This is the point where all the fans start to walk on the track, having been outside the perimeter fence. Want to check out the racetrack. Anyway, foxhole shot time, and Jorge Prado just this time around. So Jorge Prado confirmed with the foxhole shot for the 4th time this year. Turns it into a 2nd place finish and a Grand Prix victory at the same time. Henry Jacobi with 3, Tim Geiser on 1. Fans converging down onto the podium area then. as the Portuguese Grand Prix draws to a close here in Águeda. The first time we've been here since 2019. Don't need me to tell you the reasons why, but we're back here in Águeda, and we've had a fantastic time as well. Full house here around the racetrack. Fans have enjoyed it, we've enjoyed it as well. Sun disappearing behind the clouds, temperature starting to drop, but the action has been hot. But third overall, standing construct, Husqvarna Factory Racing, Brian Bogers, his first podium in MXGP, and what a time to do it as well. Tim Geiser, second overall, Team HRC. Jorge Prado with his third consecutive victory around this Águeda circuit, 2018, 2019, and now in MXGP in 2022. The Red Bull Gas Factory Racing rider, a win and a second in the races today. Reduces the gap by 2 points. Claudio De Carli, all smiles as the team win for the first time this year with Jorge Prado. Jose Brenner, active president, handing out the third place trophy to Brian Bogers, standing construct, Husqvarna Factory Racing. What a day it's been for him. 2 weeks ago, he was out of action, missing in action, with a shoulder hanging down by his hip. Bounces back today as if nothing had happened. Manuel Marinero handing the second place trophy to Tim Geiser, who maintains his grip on the championship. Jorge Prado, though, Red Bull Gas Factory Racing on the top step of the podium. Win number 36 for the Spaniard. Jorge Almeida, the Mayor of Águeda. As always, thank you very much, sir, for inviting us here to this wonderful racetrack and this wonderful part of the world. Team trophy going to Davide De Carli. Rodrigo Castro, the FIM CMS coordinator, handing that team trophy to the De Carli Gas team. Their first win of the season, but they've been on the podium 4 times this year. Second, third, and now first with Jorge Prado. Antonio Alia Portela, though, the FIM CMS director, handing the red plate to Tim Geiser. 3 wins and a second overall, yet to be challenged for that red plate, although first time this year he's not stood on the top step of the podium, but he won't mind about that, nor will they. Team HRC, things are looking good for Tim Geiser, but it's Jorge Prado, your overall winner here today. Brian Bogers, fantastic performance for him in third. Your top 3 overall here today. Jorge Prado on the top step of the podium for the 36th time. Tim Geiser second overall. Brian Bogers, standing construct Husqvarna, on the MXGP podium for the first time in his career with third overall today. We'll talk to the top 3 in just a few moments. MXGP race 2 here in Portugal. A good start for Jorge Prado, picking up the foxhole shot for the 4th time this year. Henry Jacobi came close once again. The German, though, losing traction coming out of this turn, quickly losing positions. Good starts for both the standing construct boys, Paul Jonas and Brian Bogers. Ruben Fernandez on the charge. He and Calvin Verlandren battled for supremacy early on. Verlandren coming home in an eventual 6th place. All eyes at the head of the field, though. Jorge Prado got caught napping here as Geiser sided his way through, took over the lead. Jet Beaton then came under attack. Lost the position to Ruben Fernandez. And then almost immediately by Alberto Ferrato. Beaton would eventually finish the race in 13th place. Maxime Renault went down in the latter stage of the race. He came home in 11th position. Good move from Glenn Koldenoff to go around Paul Jonas. That got him on the podium, but then Bogers went by Jonas as well, and that secured his 3rd step of the podium here in Portugal. Tim Geiser won the race. Prado was 2nd, Koldenoff 3rd, Bogers 4th, Jonas 5th. Here's Geiser with Lisa.
Jorge Prado, congratulations. First overall of the season for you. Winner of race 1. Couldn't hold on to that lead in race 2, but you've got some Spanish fans here, and it's great to get it out of the way, the overall victory for the rest of the season.
Yeah, like you said, I had such a heavy bag on my shoulders all the way this championship, and I wasn't right like myself. Even today, I struggle a little bit, but I think right now I kind of, relieve a little bit of that pressure, and hopefully I can ride a bit better the next rounds. But I'm super happy to get the first win of the season, and let's move on. Let's get back to work, and I'm super happy. Thanks to all the fans over here. They support me every single lap, so it was a great weekend.
Great job today.
Guys.
Thanks, Jorge. Second overall today, we have Tim Geiser. Tim, good weekend for you. Maybe left it a little bit late in race 1, but not making the same mistake twice in race 2. Perfectly timed pass on Prado for the lead. How was it for you?
Yeah, it was a good weekend, let's say. I was enjoying. It's always nice to come here in Portugal. So yeah, first race, I didn't have the best start. I was struggling to pass on the beginning, riders in front of me. So the front 2 make a quite comfortable lead, and then was too late a bit to catch them and pass them. But anyway, I was happy with the speed. Second one, got a better start. I was immediately behind Jorge. I was waiting there, checking the lines, and then decide to make a pass and make a little gap and control the race. So overall, I'm pretty happy. I want to say a huge thank you to all my team, everybody around me. So thank you very much, guys.
Thanks, Tim. Third overall today, we have Brian Bogers. Brian, it's fantastic to see you on the podium. First podium since 2017. First podium in MXGP. You've just been growing in confidence. Solid weekend for you. You needed this.
Yes, definitely. Yeah, I mean, I'm speechless, it's been so difficult, the way to here. Yeah, but finally we are here, 3rd on the box. Yeah, amazing. I don't know what to say. I want to say thanks to my family, the team, everybody around me.
Well deserved. Thanks, Brian.
Thank you.
2017 in MX2, his last podium. Brian Bogers back on the podium in MXGP. What a moment, what a massive weight off his shoulders, and a huge relief as well for the 189 standing construct Husqvarna rider. Second overall, Tim Geiser, Team HRC. That first race